Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of June. I hope you are well. My cat is joining us for the reading today. Hopefully he'll be quiet, but we'll see. What do I have to tell you? Yes, so if the reading resonates and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. The link for that will be down in the description box. Obviously, if you support me on Patreon, you get access to all the extended content for no extra cost, whether it's Leo's or not, right? So let's have a look and see what's going on with you for June, please. I have 3 cards for Leo, please. In the recent past, we have the Death card. Something definitely has shifted with you, Leo. Can I have current energy, please? Oh, there we are. 10 of Wands. I wonder if the transition is taking a little bit of time to bed in. I think that's possible. And what's coming towards... What's coming towards Leo, please, for June? We have the Queen of Wands. That's really interesting because I just did I started doing card a day again, or card for the day again, and my card for the day was Queen of Wands, which seems very interesting in light of what's just come up here. We have the Page of Wands at the bottom of the deck, and we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is a nice little combination there. Let's get some clarifiers and see what's going on here. The rest of this, so that's here as well. Cat's being uncharacteristically quiet. Good stuff. Right. Tell me about death, please. Oh, we have the 8 of Swords and we have the 5 of Wands. Interesting. Let's have the 10 of Wands, please. We have the Temperance card. Could be a Sagittarius who's making life difficult for you. Fucking hell. Right. Okay, I'm going to show you these, but I'm not going to take them. We've got the Page of Cups, we've got the 6 of Pentacles in reverse, and we've got the Fool in reverse. I'm not going to take them because it's too many, it's more than I want. But there's an interesting kind of discrepancy between the transformation and the implied beginning that is contained within the Death card, and then the appearance of the Fool in reverse. It's like you haven't quite... Like I said before, this change, the shift hasn't quite bedded in yet in the way that it should. It's taking a little bit of adjusting to. Tell me about the 10 of Wands. We've got the Hierophant, Taurus energy. It could be a Taurus. It's giving you a hard time. Right. Tell me about the Queen of Wands, please. We have the Lover's card. There it is. I like that. The Queen of Wands, please. And the Emperor. Right. It feels to me... I could feel the Magician knocking around somewhere. There it is. And I could feel the pair of them, actually. The Magician and the High Priestess knocking around. There's... Don't worry. Don't worry if you're not quite feeling tip-top at the moment, Leo. Don't worry if you're not quite feeling like you're on, you're on form, because it is coming. I've lost my thing. Oh, here it is. It's down here, under my chair. So... And we start with the Death card. It's a card of Scorpio in the Major Arcana, obviously. It's a big energy. And it could be, for some of you, that the effects of the Scorpio full moon were quite profound for you. To be honest, in the reading that we did last month, I felt like you were a little less affected than every other sign in the deck. There was certainly not a need to purge or release too hard with anything. It was more a case of just bed in, get used to this, almost like Leo had spent, I would say probably like the last year kind of purging all of these sorts of things anyway. Like you went face to face with stagnancy and the dark places that took you, and worked with it. Right. So when it came to this big release, actually the bucket was already empty. I was spending the last fucking year doing this. I don't need to do it anymore. But it does talk about a shift and a change and a transformation, and I think it was very welcome. I do believe it is internal rather than necessarily external. Just a different perspective. just a little bit, and it feels like it was just kind of a little shuffle to the left or a little shuffle to the right, and now you see things slightly differently than the way you did before. But it might well be that actually these shifts and changes, as small as they are, aren't quite complete yet, right? So they're actually happening on almost a daily basis, where you're getting a little look into something else, you know. The two cards that we have underneath here are really quite challenging. We have the Eight of Swords and we have the Five of Wands. Now, there is a way of reading this to say, not these. You know, this is what's changed. You've let go of these. And I think to a degree that that's absolutely correct. But I also think that it's thrown up a new set of issues for you. Almost. It's like you get one thing sorted and then something pops up over there and you're like, fuck's sake. It's like playing whack-a-mole with your psyche, actually. That's what it is. You know, the Eight of Swords is a card of mental restriction. It is that feeling of being a little bit trapped. And for you, I do feel like you are aware that there are ways in which your mind tries to take you in one particular direction, and you know you don't want to go there, and you're kind of like that, just kind of grabbing it and pulling it back and going, no, we don't do that anymore. Like that's a default kind of mechanism that we go to. We don't need that. We need to be here and we need to deal with what's in front of us. But it can feel incredibly binding. But the reality is that binding is all in our own heads, and it's the way that we process it that dictates whether we choose to use it as something, you know, really creative and fuel to move us forwards, or whether we just go, fuck it, like, why do I even bother, you know. The Five of Wands can be a card of active conflict with other people, but that just doesn't feel like you, Leo. It's more likely, far more likely, this being a Leo card after all, that the conflict is within yourself, and the ways in which you're trying to change and trying to develop. Kind of coming up against brick walls every now and again, and knowing that this is a brick wall, and knowing that this is maybe a default cycle, default pattern rather, something like that, and then having to go, oh, fucking hell, but this is what I feel, but actually this is what I know to be right, you know. It's quite tricky. Should we pull another card? Let's pull another card. Feels like an age since I've talked to you, Leo, and we can afford to spend a little bit longer here. Tell me about this Eight of Swords and Five of Wands. There it is. We've got the Page of Swords. Yeah, it's this new mindset that's trying to develop for you. It's trying to emerge. We've got the Nine of Swords at the bottom of the deck, and we've got the Eight of Cups there behind it. And like I said, it is a bit like whack-a-mole, right? You deal with that thing and then something pops up over here and you're like, did I not just fucking sort all of this out? Did I not just do it? For you, it's not about releasing necessarily. It's more about noticing the patterns and kind of ducking and weaving through them. No, we don't need that anymore, you know. We're going to go this way instead. So when we come to your current energy, what we've got is the Ten of Wands, and this is a card of burden. It is a card of things being very hard, and I think that in some ways there is a lot about your existence that's quite difficult at the moment. Not, you know, overwhelmingly awful, so we have to, you know, lie down in a dark room and take a moment, or maybe sit and sob on the carpet, you know, whichever way it affects you. But there is a sense that you are doing a little bit too much at the moment, Leo, and that some sort of balance, some sort of moderation needs to be exercised. Now, whether this is in your work or in your relationships, you know, whatever it is that you've taken on at the moment, I don't think you necessarily have an opportunity to put it down just yet, but being aware that currently you're working at a rate that is wearing you out is something that you should be aware of. Like, I feel it was going to be more towards the end of June where you have an opportunity to kind of rejig your schedule a little bit, or something like that, where you will take into account how you are feeling right now as you're watching this video. No, actually, no, I can do less. Sometimes less is more, because it has you showing up fresher to a thing. Right? You can power through things a lot quicker if you're well rested and energized than if you are constantly at the end of your fucking tether, you know. And don't forget, you know, as I record this, we're still very much in Mercury retrograde. I think it stations direct around the 3rd or the 4th, I think, depending on whereabouts in the world you are, or the second or the third, something like that. I know it's the third in the UK at least, but we do have that 2 weeks thereafter where the energy is winding down again. And you know, if you've been experiencing what I have, which is huge technological mishaps, communication missteps by other people, you know, not so much me, although possibly a little bit me as well, let's never rule that out, and just fuckery, right? Just Mercury retrograde fuckery, like that can just add another level of exhaustion onto everything, because you have to think a little bit harder than you usually do. That will come to its end, you know, towards the second half of June. We'll be looking at what, 18th, 17th, 18th, something like that. It feels to me like the second half of June feels much calmer, much more rested, much more empowered, and we'll get to that in a second. But I want to kind of dig into these two cards here. So we've got the Temperance card and we've got the Hierophant. Now, like I said, Sagittarius and Taurus, and it could be that these characters are involved for you, and if it is, all the good, because then you know it's kind of being sent to you on purpose. But the Temperance card is about healing. Now, not in the big, not in the abstract kind of, no, actually in the abstract way, not in the very specific way that it seems to be hitting all of the other signs, right? They had very definite things that were coming up, things that needed to be released so that they might heal. For you, it seems to be more about this kind of, this abstract notion of moderation and making sure that everything is kind of on a level. The Temperance card, the angel in the Temperance card, is pouring from one cup into another here, and we have that idea of filling your own cup first. And have you been doing that? Have you not been doing that? You know, I like the idea of balance that comes through here with the Temperance card, but I'm also getting that sense of balance with the Hierophant card too, because it's an acolyte card. We've got these two little dudes here, you know, listening to whatever's being preached at them, you know, by the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is security and stability and commitment to things often too. It can speak about, you know, institutions of any sort. So, you know, established relationships, marriages, that kind of thing. But it can also talk to anything where there is a hierarchy. It's one of the reasons I'm not terribly fond of this. So then we would have schools, we would have, you know, religious institutions, we would have universities. But it can also be about business. It can be about the structure of the work that you do. Now I'm going to pull, I'm going to go back to this one here. I'm intrigued to know, to see if we can kind of narrow it down somewhat. Tell that. Hierophant's the Five of Cups. It's just spun out there. And the Two of Swords. We've got the Four of Cups at the bottom of the deck here, and it does feel like you're slightly triggered at the moment. Like I said, not like ridiculously so, not freaking out and sobbing on the carpet or lying down in a dark room or anything like that, but there's something kind of wistful here. You know, the Four of Cups, which is this card down here, right? Usually we've got someone in an active sulk, like, no, I will not take that fucking cup, I'm not doing it, you know. But here there's something altogether more wistful in the Triple Goddess here. We see the cups are down here where she can't see them for a start, but then that singular ace is on the corner of the table, but she's looking out of the window. Is she daydreaming? Possibly. Is she zoning out because she's been working too hard? Almost certainly. I don't know about you, it's one of my coping mechanisms to just sit and stare at stuff. And, you know, obviously I'm not looking at something, then there's lots of things just whirring along inside here, and eventually they might stop if I look at something blankly for long enough. Not always. But we've got this Five of Cups and we've got the Two of Swords, and I do feel a little bit of resentment here. I'm not sure quite why it's there. There's definitely a sense that there's something that you're not quite seeing here. You know, there's something that you're trying to swerve a little bit. Maybe what you're trying to swerve is the resentment, actually. That's Two of Swords. We've got the King of Pentacles. And we've got the Nine of Swords. There's so much duty and responsibility here. You know, the King of Pentacles is about actually going after the things that you want, but providing for other people. Like there's, and even if you don't necessarily have a family, you might be finding that what you're doing is kind of walking around after everybody else and picking up all the crap that they're dropping, you know, in a metaphorical sense. Just kind of being all like, right, well, you're making a mess over here, let me clean this up, and let me go over here and clean this up. Like, or you might be feeling like, you know, if I don't take charge and I don't do all of the things, they're not going to get done. And at some undisclosed point in the future, there's going to be, you know, a shit show, some fuckery, and I'm going to have to go and deal with that anyway. And it costs me less effort to do it now than it will do a couple of weeks down the line. You know, it's less effort dealing with somebody's, you know, personal issues now when I really don't have the spoons for it, you know, than deal with it a couple of weeks down the line. The duty and the responsibility seems to be taking a bit of a toll on you at the moment, and I do feel what the corollary of all of this is that you need to kind of take a break in some way. Now, when we get into June, we've got the Queen of Wands, the Lovers, and the Emperor card. And this is quite interesting because we have the Queen of Wands there. You know, it's Aries energy actually, but it could well be you, Leo. Well, it is you, right? It's the feminine version of what is the, you know, active masculine sign of Leo, the feminine expression of the energy, at least. And it does indicate that where you are tired, you will be refreshed and renewed during the month of June. But a huge part of that comes down to the Lovers card and the Emperor card here, the energies thereof. If we start with this Emperor here, we've got more Aries energy here. And like, if you are tired, and I do feel like you're tired, Leo, then this gives you a bit of a boost. Because as well as having that kind of initiatory element to them, so it's that spark of getting on and doing something, right? It's hugely creative, the element of fire. It also talks about planning and strategy and getting all of your ducks in a row, right? It's numbered 4, and numerologically speaking, you know, 4 is very much about order and routines and these sorts of things. And so the question would be, what in your routines, your schedules, your sense of order actually needs an overhaul? What needs to be made to run better than it is doing at the moment? Because you're just tired. You're just really, really bone fucking tired, and you're not doing your best stuff. You're not living your best life if you are. So this feels now like a renewed motivation to overhaul everything. It's a bit of a spring clean of your life, if you will, because the Queen of Wands says you want to shine, you want to be visible, you want to be seen to be exactly as you are, which is, you know, fire royalty, basically. But at the moment, you feel like you're very much showing up like this. And these shifts and changes that have been going on inside of you, I don't think that they are complete enough yet that you can see the landscape of who you are and where you want to go. If I'm honest, that's what it feels like to me here. And with the Lovers card being there, there's a sense of you not being in a position to be able to choose up until now what you want to do and where you want to go, because actually you're just dispensing with too many spoons doing everything else. This feels to me like a pulling back of energy to you, in some ways an absolute delineation of boundaries, and going, I'm not doing this for you anymore because it costs me, and I'm not doing that for you anymore because it costs me, and until I have spare to give, like, I need to retreat a little bit. I don't feel you're retreating from people. It feels like there's a marked difference between the beginning of June and the end of June in terms of the way that you were showing up. And I do feel like it's while these little shifts in perspective that you're having are kind of bedding into the right place, where you can turn around and look at the entirety of your existence and go, Why do I feel like this all of the time, and how can I change it? It's a very empowered kind of way of looking at things. This is what Leos do. You don't tend to stay down for long. At some point, you'll pick yourself up by the scruff of the neck and be like, right. The card that just flipped in the deck as I was saying that was the Tower. Disruptive energy of change, but by your hand, right? Things can't stay like this. I've got shit to do. And, you know, High Priestess and the Magician there is speaking to, I just feel like everything kind of clicking into place, right? The clarity coming about what it is that you need to do to make everything run beautifully, to give you the time, you know, to give you the energy to be able to indulge in whatever it is that you actually don't have time for. Perhaps it is new projects, perhaps it's you want to go travelling, perhaps there's some sort of thing that you can't do now that you will be much better placed to be able to do in June than you currently are. Tell me about this Lovers and Emperor card, please. We've got the Knight of Pentacles here. We've got the King of Cups, more Scorpio energy. We've got the Five of Wands and we've got the Three of Pentacles. There we are. The only card in the only deck that I have where the Ten of Wands card actually has somebody putting the fucking burden down. I love that. I love this card for that. And it's honestly, I've got an obscene number of decks. This is the only one where somebody's gone, fuck this, I'm putting it down. There's a kind of back to basics energy about this here for you. We've got the Knight of Pentacles coming out here. Right, it's about slow, diligent, consistent work, and I think that your outside can't catch up with your inside because your inside hasn't caught up with your inside yet. There's too many things that are just shifting and changing on the daily basis that you cannot properly perceive the landscape, which means that you cannot properly perceive your way through it, which means it's one step at a time. You know, we're back to this Emperor energy, we're back to this Four energy, structure, routine. How can I change it? How can I shift it so that it actually allows me to expand within it, rather than feel completely oppressed by it? You know, the King of Cups says to me that there are a number of things that you would like to be able to devote yourself to a little bit more. Personal, individual things. But with this Five of Wands and Three of Pentacles, there's always a sense that other people are more important. Like there are other things that we need to build with someone else, you know. And that, I don't think, is going to fly for much longer for you, Leo. Because the Page of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune, incidentally, a combination that I would associate with travel. And perhaps some of you are going off and doing that. And if you are, it could be that this is the thing that you need to reset for you, you know. Watching some of the Leo astrology for June a couple of weeks ago, and this eclipse season is highlighting your work area, but also travel, you know, experiential expansion, if you will. That's what travel is, I think, at least anyway. You're going and trying new things and going and seeing new things. And it's interesting that it should fall here in a way where you personally seem to be about ready to completely overhaul your life. But the advice is to start small. Start with the little things, because you can't change the big picture yet. Because actually in here, it's still kind of all wobbling around and you're not quite sure where everything's sitting, you know. The good news is, with the High Priestess and the Magician at the bottom of the deck, once you have rested enough, once you have decided that you're going to put the burden down somewhat, where you've put those boundaries up against people, against your work, you know, whatever is draining you at the moment, then it seems to me that the ability to be able to manifest something new, possibly, whatever that is coming in fast and hard, actually, with that Lover's card and the Magician card appearing there, right? You can manifest what it is that you're after. And maybe what you want is just some space. But but certainly by the end of June, you'll have a better idea of what it is that you want to bring towards you. Now, I'm going to go over to Vimeo now, because I have a deep suspicion there's quite a lot more going on in June than just what is appearing here, although this is kind of like the umbrella of what's happening. So if you would like to come and join me over there, you are very welcome. The link is down in the description box. If you're on my Patreon, then you've probably seen this already because I put those up early. But if not, no shade. Just be, where you can, just be peaceful with yourself, Leo, because shit needs time to adjust, yo. And whilst it all feels a little bit fuckery like at the moment and tiring and burdensome and all this sort of thing, you'll be seeing things very, very much more clear towards the end of June. And then it feels like there's much more energy for you towards the end of June to start putting in place what it is that you want to bring towards you. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.